Hey guys, Tat here and welcome to another Call of Duty Ghosts video for you today. We've got some speculation based off a little tip-off of some leaked or supposed leaked information that I received a couple of days back, and I wanted to talk on this topic as well. So I've tied kind of like a bit of a speculation based on these leaked, possibly real, possibly not, possibly someone's made it up, I don't know, but I've been tipped off this information, so I'm going to bring you all that in this video. It's basically based around vehicles and the kind of like dynamic loading screens that we know or are pretty certain that will be in Call of Duty Ghosts multiplayer, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, that's about it, so let's get jumping into this video. So I got this information tipped to me from a subscriber who got tipped by a friend who works at Game in the UK, and he's been talking to some people higher up in the ranks in Game who have actually got to see a quick early preview of the game in action. So this information, if true, has gone through like 3 or 4 people, so is probably not entirely true now, even if it was at the start. So take everything I say with a pinch of salt. I'm not sure personally whether to believe everything that I see in this, but I'm just going to tell you what he's told me. So he says that vehicles will play a bigger role in Ghosts. This is in the multiplayer mode. He says you can use tanks, choppers and jets, such as in Battlefield 3, and the ability to use parachutes will also be in the game. He says that parachutes can be used to jump from a chopper or a jet when it is about to explode, so that you can get down to the ground. Now, he also says, quite obviously, the parachutes are going to be the stealthier way of getting down into the ground, onto the map. You know, it makes less noise than using a chopper and a jet, which makes sense. But all of this kind of adds up to something that doesn't really make sense in a Call of Duty game. We haven't seen a vehicle that you can actually manually drive and control yourself that's not a kill streak since COD 5, since World at War, when we had tanks in the multiplayer maps. Ever since that game, we haven't seen a vehicle in a multiplayer map at all, and it kind of doesn't make sense to go back on their decision of taking them out of all multiplayer maps since Call of Duty 5, 5 years ago, or however old it is. It doesn't make sense to go back on that decision and then bring in like loads of new vehicles. It just doesn't make sense, and it makes it look like it's copying its supposed rival Battlefield, even though they are very separate games, and I'm in that camp for saying that they're both totally different games, but it does make it look like it's pushing towards vehicles rather than just on foot combat. Now that is where he left it, so this is where my speculation takes over. This is where I think that is not actually going to be in the physical map. This is how you're going to be getting into the map. Now, ever since the Drifter leak, which was like 2 months before the official reveal of the game, and he's got most of the information in that leak correct so far, he actually said that dynamic animation loading screens into a multiplayer map would be coming into multiplayer maps. So, you know, normally you just have the loading screen with a picture of the map. He says that dynamic loading screens will be added, so something that basically you flying by a chopper, or you come in the back of like a tank or something like that into the map. You can't physically do anything in those choppers or in the tanks. It's just like a loading screen, but it just makes it look cooler, makes it look more realistic, and gives you a better feel of the battlefield and get a view of the surrounding areas. So this is what I think is happening. I think the information that I've got links in with the information that Drifter got with the dynamic loading screens, and the vehicles that I've just listed will be the vehicles you use to get into the maps via these dynamic loading screens. So I'll just go over that list again. There's tanks, there's choppers, there's jets, and there's also parachutes. Now I think because you normally play as 2 different teams when you're playing a typical online multiplayer match, you take the roles of 2 different teams that are based from the campaign, so the good guys and the bad guys typically. Now I think the good guys, the Ghosts, which have the less technological power in the actual campaign mode, will be the ones coming in on the parachutes, because that's more stealthy, as I said earlier, and it's also lower in cost, so that would be a way that they could get into the map. The other 3, the jets, the tanks and the choppers, could be the way that the bad guys, the massive superpowers, get into the map. And so maybe if we see another entrance from the Ghosts, from the stealthier ones, maybe you can just run into the map or something. I don't know, but I think this is basically how everything all links together, with the dynamic loading screens and these vehicles that he listed in this kind of leaked information that he's got from Game UK. Hit me up in the comments below, what do you think of this idea? The only other thing that he said is that flares will be used to kind of signal places for kill streaks to target, so you know, chopper gunners and things like that. If they're AI controlled, you can kind of, I don't know whether you manually put a flare down on the floor, whether you use like a computer to place flares down on there, and then from that the chopper or whatever shoots at the locations where the flares are. So that's also a pretty cool new thing that they might be putting into multiplayer. But what do you guys think of these dynamic loading maps? I personally think they are going to be coming into the game, and if they are, these vehicles that I've just listed are very probable that they could be the ones being used to get into the maps. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have done, please hit that like button real quick. It really means a lot to me, and it helps spread this video out to as many people as possible. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Check out some of my previous videos on screen, subscribe for more COD Ghost information and news, and I'll see you all in a bit. Ciao.